So we understood how to chunk our input data and what are the different text chunking methods we have in the previous lecture, right? Now let's learn how to write a correct prompt, right? So writing a correct prompt is nothing but prompt engineering. That is, prompt engineering is the process of structuring or crafting an instruction in order to produce the best possible output from a generative artificial intelligence model. Right? So before you start building any generative AI RAG application, first you need to know how and what kind of methods we have to ask the question in the right format. That is, provide the right context to the LLM so the LLM can understand in a better way and predict the accurate results for us. So we will cover these prompt engineering techniques, that is basic prompt, role, task, context prompt, few shot, chain of thought, constrained output prompting, right? And apart from these, Hugging Face has prompt engineering documentation as well. So let me take you there. So this is the Hugging Face documentation, right? And if you see here, we have the prompt engineering section where you can go here and see different examples. They've explained the best practices and few techniques here, few shot, chain of thought, fine tuning, and few examples, right? So you can go through this Hugging Face documentation. And we also have prompt engineering documentation in OpenAI as well. So if you go to OpenAI documentation page, you can see text generation and prompting, right? So here they have provided few examples and how to apply prompt engineering techniques, right? So let me show one other. So this is from Anthropic. So here also they have provided prompt engineering overview and when to prompt engineer, how to prompt engineer, and prompt engineering tutorial as well they are provided here. So you can go through Hugging Face, prompt engineering, or OpenAI or Anthropic, right? So they have few documentation there. You can deep dive these articles. The concept is the same. You can apply prompt engineering for any model. There is nothing technical here, right? It's more of common sense with the way we ask a question to the LLM, right? So it's just the way we ask a question so the LLM can understand and predict more accurate results for us. And in order to ask a question to LLM, first thing is you need to get the OpenAI API key because we will be using OpenAI. So first thing is go to OpenAI and get the API key. You can also use any free model from Hugging Face too. So go to Hugging Face and get the key if you prefer to use a model from Hugging Face, right? So why are we getting the key? Because prompt engineering meaning we are interacting with the LLM and we need a key to connect to the LLM, right? So we will be using OpenAI LLM. So let me show you how to get the API key from OpenAI, right? So first thing is you have to go to OpenAI. Just go to Google and type OpenAI API key and click on this one, OpenAI platform, right? platform.openai.com API keys, right? So just click on this and make sure you create an account here. The registration is straightforward. The instructions are pretty clear. And as it is confidential information, that is, it involves your address and credit card information. I'm not showing the registration process. Otherwise, it is easy to create an account and you should be able to move forward with creating an API key, right? So when you are creating an account, you need to provide your full name and have a password, and then it will ask you to provide your organization name and about yourself as well. So let me show a few screens so you will get an idea. So this is how it looks when you are trying to create an account. So you can see platform openai.com, welcome, step is equal to create. So this is how it looks when you are trying to create an account. So it will ask you to enter your organization name and what best describes you. Underneath you'll have very technical, somewhat technical, not technical, right? So you can provide your organization name and you can select whatever is best suitable for you, right? Very technical, somewhat technical, or non-technical, right? Then click on create organization and then it will ask you if you want to invite your team as well. So if you want, you can add your team members also. Otherwise, you can click on I will invite my team later and click on continue, right? And then you have to provide API key name. You can name anything here, and the project name you can leave as default project here, and then click on generate API key, right? And then it will generate the key. So make sure you save the key securely so you can make use of it to make the API calls, right? And once you save the key, then click on continue, and you also need to add some credits here. So try choosing $5. I think that should be enough, because with $5 can cover about 2 million input or 500k output tokens. Plenty to start building your idea, right? So I think this $5 should be enough. So choose this $5 and click on purchase credits, right? And then you need to provide your credit card details, your address, and then click on add payment method. And after that, click on confirm payment. And once your payment is completed, then you will get an email from OpenAI saying that your OpenAI API account has been funded, and then you can start using your API key, right? And in case if you want to create a new key, just log into the account and click on API keys, and then click on create new secret key, right? So that way you can create another key as well. And also when your credit balance reaches $0, then your API request will stop working, right? So make sure you have some balance in your account, right? So have your key ready so we can learn different prompt engineering techniques. All right, thank you. So we have seen what is prompt engineering and what are the different prompt engineering techniques we have, and how to create an account in OpenAI and how to get the API key from OpenAI, right? Now let's see the different prompt engineering techniques that we have. The first one is basic prompt, right? So let me go to our code editor, VS Code, so we can see the basic prompt engineering technique implementation, right? So we have seen how to create a workspace and name it build generative AI applications. You can name anything. And underneath we have RAG demo and also chunking methods demo. So we have seen RAG application, how to build a question answer system, RAG application before. And then we have seen different chunking methods that we have: character text splitter, markdown header text splitter, recursive character text splitter, token text splitter, right? So let me close these two. And similar to RAG demo and chunking methods demo, I have created an empty folder called prompt engineering demo. So let me add this folder to this workspace, build generative AI applications, right? Right click and then click on add folder to workspace, and then select prompt engineering demo and click add. So now you can see prompt engineering demo. This has been added, right? So now select this folder and then click on file, new file, and select Python file, and let's save it. So make sure you go to prompt engineering demo, right? And then let's name it basic prompt demo and save it, right? So underneath RAG demo we have RAG application, and underneath chunking methods demo we have chunking methods files, and underneath prompt engineering demo we will be creating all different prompt engineering techniques here. So the first one is basic prompt. So first thing is we have to install all the required packages from LangChain, because we will be using the methods that we have inside LangChain in order to interact with the OpenAI LLM, right? So what you have to do, click on view and go to the terminal, and from here try to execute these two commands: pip install LangChain community and pip install OpenAI, right? So pip install LangChain community and hit enter, and then pip install OpenAI and hit enter, right? So once the installation is complete, then you can import the modules that are inside these LangChain packages, right? So let me close this terminal, close this. Now let's try to import all the required modules, right? So first thing is we installed all the required packages with pip install command, and then the next thing is we are trying to import all the required modules, right? So this OS module is to read the key from the environment file, right? And remember, in case anytime if you ever get module not found, then make sure you install the corresponding package by pip install command, right? If you do not know the exact package name, then you can go to PyPy, that is Python package index, and double check the package name. For example, so here you can type OpenAI and hit enter. So let's say you want to use this, then you can see the command pip install OpenAI, right? So you can just copy this and then execute it, right? So that's how you can install any packages that are required, right? And what we did here, we tried to import all the required modules. For example, OpenAI, we imported from LangChain LLMs, prompt template from LangChain prompts, LLM chain from LangChain chains, and chat OpenAI from LangChain chart models, right? So we have seen how to get the OpenAI key, right? So once you get the key, make sure you store it in an environment variable so you can read it from there and use it in our code, right? So let's go to prompt engineering demo, and underneath this folder, right click and create a file, and let's name it .env. And here let's create a variable API key, and you have to store your API key that you got from OpenAI, right? So you can name anything here. I'm just giving API underscore key, but you can name anything here and store your key here, right? And then save it. So once you save your key inside your environment variable, next thing is, now let's see how to read the key and make use of it, right? So now let's read the OpenAI key from the environment file that we just created so we can make use of it, right? So let me close this. So the first thing is we need to load the environment variables from .env file, right? So we are using load underscore .env to load the environment variables from env file. Now the next thing is, let's try to read the key. So we can use the module OS, and inside that we have get env function, and we have to pass the name that we used inside our environment file. Remember, we saved with this name. Whatever name you give inside your environment file, you have to provide that name here so that we can read the API key from this environment file. So let me store that API key inside this environment variable OpenAI API key. Okay. So far what we did, we installed all the required packages, and then we imported the modules from these packages, and we did load the environment variables from environment file, and then we read the key, and then the key we stored inside the OpenAI API key environment variable. Okay. Now let's initialize OpenAI LLM by using this chat OpenAI, right? So this is how we initialized our LLM. So once we initialized our LLM, the next step is we need to define the prompt template, right? So we are defining the prompt template, right? So this is our basic prompt template, and there is no context here. So what we did here, we just created a basic template variable, and we are passing reply to this customer message, and inside the curly braces we are giving customer underscore message. This curly brace means it's a variable, right? So this variable makes the prompt more dynamic. Instead of hard coding the values, we are just passing by using this variable, and we will pass the value to this variable when we call the function now. And once we define the basic template, that is our prompt template, the next step is, let's use prompt template, right, which is inside LangChain, and define the variables that we have inside our prompt, right? So that is our next step, right? So what we are doing here, we are using the prompt template which is inside LangChain prompts, and we are creating our basic prompt. And here we have two variables. The first one is input variables, and then the second one is template. For the input variables, make sure you give the same name. Whatever you defined inside your basic template, you have to provide the same name here. That is our input variable. And the second one is template. For template, we are giving whatever basic template we defined before, we assign that to template, right? So that's how we created our basic prompt. So what we are doing here, we are passing the question and also the template, right? Now this prompt template, it will be passed to this LLM chain, right? don't worry about these chains. We have a separate section for chains. We will deep dive into chains, right? So the next step is create a basic chain by using this LLM chain. So what we have to do here, we have two parameters. First one is LLM. For LLM, we already initialized our OpenAI LLM by using chat OpenAI. So we are assigning that. And the second parameter is prompt. For this, we already created basic prompt here, right? So we are assigning this variable. So with this, we created our LLM chain. So here we are chaining LLM and also the question, that is our prompt, together into one by using this LLM chain. Now, once we have LLM chain ready, let's try to write a dummy customer message here. We haven't passed any value here. Now let's try to pass the value to our customer message variable. So if you see here, this is just a dummy message. So this is kind of a frustrating message from the customer. I have been waiting for 2 hours for your delivery and it still hasn't arrived. This is absolutely unacceptable. I paid extra for express delivery and this is what I get. I want my money back immediately, right? So the customer is very angry, right? So instead of this message, you can replace with any other customer message you want, right? Whether happy message or angry message or frustrated message or slightly angry message, right? So whatever you want, you can replace here. So we passed the message to the customer message variable, right? Now we have our chain ready, right? So now let's run the chain and we can see the response from the LLM, right? So what we are doing here, inside our LLM chain, we have a method called run. To that, pass this customer message. So we can see the response from our OpenAI LLM, right? So make sure you save it. So what we did here, we installed all the required packages and then we imported all the modules from the LangChain package. And then here we are loading the environment variables from env file. So we saved our key inside API key, which is inside our environment file. And we are reading the key here and we are storing inside OpenAI API key. And the next thing is initializing our LLM, which is nothing but OpenAI. And then we are trying to define our prompt template, reply to this customer message. So if the customer message is this, then we have to see how our LLM will respond, right? In case if you want to change this customer message to a happy message and then see how OpenAI responds, right? So you just try to change this message and then execute this code and see how the LLM responds, right? And then here what we are doing, we are using prompt template and passing our input variables. First one is the customer message and then the second parameter is the basic template which we defined before. And then by using LLM chain, here we are passing both LLM and the basic prompt. These two are the parameters to LLM chain. So with this we created our chain. The next thing is we have to pass a value to this customer message variable, and then inside our LLM chain we have a method called run. So we are calling that method and passing our customer message. Now once you execute this, let's see how the LLM responds. So you can click on this run Python file or you can click on run. Either you can do debugging or you can run without debugging also. Either way is fine. So let's try to click run Python file. So these are just the warnings. So it is telling us there are some deprecated methods. Instead of that, try using this. So it is just suggesting us to use the other methods that we have, right? So you can update accordingly. So you can see the LLM response here, right? I apologize for the inconvenience and frustration this has caused you. I completely understand your concerns and I will do my best to resolve this issue for you. Please provide me with your order details so I can look into this matter right away and arrange for a refund if necessary. Thank you for your patience, right? So we passed this angry customer message and this is how our LLM is responding, right? So now you got an idea on how to create a basic prompt, right? So instead of this message, you try to change to a different message and run the code and see how the LLM is responding, right? So here for LLM, we are using OpenAI, right? So we are trying to chat with OpenAI. We passed this message and then we got this response, right? So this is how you can create a basic prompt. So this is just a basic prompt. So let's see, instead of just passing this basic message, if there is any other way, right? Thank you. So in the previous lecture, we have seen the basic prompt engineering technique, right? Now let's see the next one, that is role task context prompt. So let me go to prompt engineering demo folder, click on this, and then click on file, new file, and select Python file, and let's save it. Inside our prompt engineering demo, I'm saving with the name role task context prompt demo, and click on save. So we created this Python file, right? Now let me go to basic prompt. So from here till initializing the LLM, this is all same code, right? So what we did here, if you already install these packages, you don't have to install again, right? In case if you did not install already, make sure you install these packages and then import all the required modules. And then here we are trying to load the environment variables from environment file, and then from environment file we are trying to read the API key, and then we are trying to store this API key inside OpenAI API key, right? And the next thing is we are trying to initialize the LLM. We are using OpenAI as our LLM, right? Now here we defined our prompt template, right? So similar to how we did for basic prompt, let's try to define our template for role task context prompt, right? So for example, let's assume this is how our template is. You are a highly professional customer support specialist at a premium tech company, and your goal is to address the customer's concerns while maintaining a calm and helpful demeanor. And here we're passing again a customer message variable, and this is how it should respond. Please provide a response that, number 1, acknowledges the customer's feelings, number 2, addresses their concerns professionally, number 3, offers concrete solutions, number 4, ends with a positive note, right? So if you see here, what is role, task, and context here? So role means here we are assigning a role as you are a highly professional customer support specialist at a premium tech company, right? And then we assigned a task or goal. The goal is nothing but to address the customer's concerns while maintaining a calm and helpful demeanor, right? And then here we are providing the context, right? So we will pass the context here as customer message, and then we are telling our LLM to respond in this way, right? So here you can see in the basic prompt we did not provide any role or task or context, right? But whereas in role task context prompt, here we are defining the role and the task or goal, and this is the context, and we are telling our LLM to respond in this way, right? So what we are doing here, you are directing an LLM on how it should respond, right? For example, let's say if LLM is writing 4 sentences as the response, and we want LLM to write as 1 to acknowledge the customer's feelings, and the other one is to address their concerns professionally, and the next one is to offer concrete solutions, and finally end with a positive note, right? So here we are trying to provide more context, right? So role task context prompt is better than basic prompt, right? Because now the LLM understands its role, task, and context to the problem we want the LLM to solve, right? For example, let's assume you want a travel itinerary, right? So you can write the role as you are a travel agent or a travel planner, and your task is give me budget friendly travel itinerary for different locations, right? And you can provide the context as I am traveling from location A to location B, and then return me the itinerary with. You can tell the LLM to provide the response as number 1, provide me the flight details, Number 2, provide me the hotel details. Number 3, provide me price details. And number 4, any other suggestions, right? So that is how you can define your role context template, right? And once you define your template, as you know, the next step is creating the prompt by using this prompt template, right? So how do we define our role context prompt? Inside prompt template, we are assigning customer message to input variables and role context template, which we defined before, to the template variable, right? And then next thing is this role context prompt will be chained with the LLM by using LLM chain, right? So this is inside LangChain, right? So we are passing the LLM that we initialized before. For the prompt variable, we are assigning role context prompt, which we defined before. So now we got the LLM chain. Now the next step is we have to run this, right? So inside our role context chain, we have a method called run. So let's try to run it and then print the LLM response. So we haven't defined the customer message yet, right? So let me copy this customer message that we have defined before. And now before we print, let's try to pass this same customer message. And now let's see how the LLM responds, right? So with the basic prompt, we saw the LLM response. Now with the role task context prompt, let's see how the LLM responds, right? Because here we provided the role and task and the context, and then how we want our LLM to respond, right? Now let's try to run the code. So click on run. So now let's see the LLM response here, right? Dear valued customer, I completely understand your frustration and disappointment with the delay in your delivery. I apologize for any inconvenience this has caused you. Rest assured, we take your concerns very seriously and we will do everything in our power to resolve this issue promptly. I will personally look into the status of your delivery and provide you with an update as soon as possible. In the meantime, I will expedite a refund for the express delivery fee you paid. Additionally, I will ensure that your order is processed swiftly and delivered to you at the earliest possible time. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and please accept our sincerest apologies for the inconvenience. We appreciate your patience and understanding as we work to rectify this situation. Best regards, your name and customer support specialist at so and so company, right? So if you see here, because we provided more context and we provided more guidance to LLM, if you notice the response here, you can see first thing is we are telling it to acknowledge the customer feeling, right? So that is why it provided this one. And then we are telling address their concerns professionally, right? So that is why it is telling this. And then offer concrete solutions. So what is the concrete solution? We are trying to refund, right? And then end with a positive note, right? So now you see the difference between the LLM response with basic prompt that we did before, right? Here we did not provide any role or task or context, right? Whereas with the role task context prompt, we provided what is the role, what is the task, what is the context, and how we want the LLM to respond, right? So just by adding context, you can see the change in the LLM response, right? So remember, prompt engineering plays a major role in getting the right response from the LLM and to make sure the LLM doesn't hallucinate, right? So it's more common sense than technical when writing your prompts, right? So this is our role task context prompt. So what we did here, install the packages and we imported the required modules, and then we tried to read the key, and then we stored our OpenAI API key inside this variable, and then we initialized our LLM, we created our role context template, with a role and goal and then more context, and we are telling the LLM to respond in this way, and then we passed these variables to prompt template and we got the prompt, and then the next thing is using LLM chain we passed our LLM and the role context prompt that we defined before, and this is the same customer message, and we are calling the run method inside our LLM chain and we are passing the customer message, and we saw the response from LLM by using role task context prompt engineering technique. Alright, thank you. So far we have seen basic prompt and role task context prompt, right? Now let's see the next one, few shot. So if you want, you can combine both role task context prompt and few shot together. That way also you can try to build a prompt, right? It's not just one prompt, you can combine multiple prompts together. Let me go to our code editor VS Code so we can see the implementation of few shot. So this is how we built basic prompt, right? And then the next one was role, task and context, right? So now let's see the next one, file, new file, Python file. So let's save as few shot demo inside our prompt engineering demo folder. So we created this Python file. So just like how we did before, if you haven't installed already, make sure you install them. And then let me copy the same code here. So here we installed all the required packages, and then we are trying to import all the necessary modules from these LangChain packages. And then we loaded the environment variables, that is our API key from environment file, and then we stored our API key inside our OpenAI API key. And then here we initialize the LLM, which is nothing but OpenAI, by using chat OpenAI module, which is inside LangChain chat models package. So we know this already. So what is few shot? Few shot means to give some examples so that the LLM can understand the context. So we are providing the LLMs with several similar examples so the LLM can understand the context much better and provide the response accordingly, right? For example, let's say you are trying to solve a math problem, right? And you are providing LLM some context with examples. For example, if 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 and 3 plus 3 is equal to 6, then tell me what is 10 plus 10. So you provided 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, that is one example, and 3 plus 3 is equal to 6, that is another example. Then you are asking the LLM what is 10 plus 10, right? So you are providing the example so that LLM will understand the context and then it will provide the response for similar questions, right? So now let's define the template by providing the examples, right? So this is the example of few shot template, right? So what we are doing here we are providing the role. Role is nothing but you are a highly professional customer support specialist at a premium tech company, and the goal or task is your goal is to address the customer's concerns while maintaining a calm and helpful demeanor, right? And the next one is, here are some examples of good responses to angry customers. So let's say if your angry customer says, your product is terrible, I have been trying to make it work for hours and nothing helps. And we are telling the LLM to respond this way. I sincerely apologize for the frustration you are experiencing. I understand how valuable your time is and it's unacceptable that you have spent hours trying to resolve this. Let's work together to fix this immediately. Could you please tell me what specific issues you are encountering? I will guide you through the solution step by step, right? So if your customer says this, then you are telling the LLM to respond this way. And then let's say if another angry customer says, I want a refund right now, this is the worst service ever, then you want the LLM to respond this way. I completely understand your disappointment and I want to make this right for you. I will help you with the refund process right away. While I process this, could you share what specific aspects of our service did not meet your expectations? This will help us improve and prevent similar issues in the future, right? Now, please respond to this customer message. So what we are telling, if this is the customer message, then respond this way. And if this is the customer message, then respond this way. And now if you give another customer message, then LLM has to respond, right? So that is our intent with FewShot. So what we are doing inside FewShot, we are providing the role and the task and then FewShot. That is meaning guiding the LLM with some examples. If customer intent is this, then you LLM respond this way. And if the customer message is this, then you respond this way, right? And LLM is smart enough to understand these examples and respond to any other question accordingly, right? So the next step is, as you know, prompt will be written inside this prompt template, right? So this is how we created FewShot prompt. So inside prompt template, we are passing input variables and template. This template is nothing but whatever we defined before, that is FewShot template. And for the input variables, we have to pass our customer message. So we are passing two variables, customer message and prompt template. And this FewShot prompt will be chained with this LLM chain, right? So by using LLM chain, we have to pass these two parameters. The first one is LLM, which we already initialized by using chat OpenAI, and the second one is nothing but prompt, which we defined before, FewShot prompt, by using prompt template, right? So with this we got the FewShot chain. And the next one is we need to get this customer message, right? So let me copy the same customer message. So with FewShot, let's see how the LLM is going to respond, because we have provided few examples. So in case if we pass this customer message here, now we have to see how the LLM is going to respond, right? So once we have this customer message ready, so you can replace with any customer message here, right? And now let's run and print the LLM response by using run method. Inside LLM chain, we have the run method and we are passing the customer message and trying to print the LLM response. Let's save it and run the code. So if you see the response here, this is how the LLM responded. I am truly sorry for the inconvenience you have experienced with the delayed delivery. I completely understand your frustration, especially after paying for express delivery. Please rest assured that I will work into this matter right away and ensure that your money is refunded promptly. Could you please provide me with your order details so I can investigate this issue further and resolve it as quickly as possible. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, right? So this is how it is responding for an angry customer, right? So this is what the angry customer says, and that is what the LLM is responding, because the LLM understood these two examples, right? And then it is trying to respond for another message that we pass to the LLM, right? So this is how we can implement FewShot. So FewShot is nothing but guiding the LLM with examples, right? So what we did here, we installed the packages and we loaded the required modules from LangChain. And then here we loaded the environment variables and we read the key and we stored the key inside OpenAI API key and we initialized the LLM. And then this is how we defined our FewShot template with role, task and few examples. And then if we ask another question, we have to see how the LLM is going to respond. We are guiding the LLM with examples. And then we define the prompt by using prompt template, and then we chain this prompt with LLM by using LLM chain. And once we have the chain, we are calling the run method by passing the customer message so that we can see the response from the LLM, right? So this is nothing but FewShot. So we are guiding the LLM with some examples. So LLM is smart enough to understand the pattern, and based on the examples, LLM understands the context and provides the response accordingly. Alright. So this is nothing but FewShot. Alright. Thank you. So we have seen basic prompt, role, task, context prompt, FewShot, and now let's see chain of thought, right? So chain of thought is good for reasoning based applications. For example, let's say you are building an LLM model which can solve riddles, puzzles, math problems, planning and acting for a travel agent. Let's say you can tell, I want to go this route or that route, or I want to find the flight which is cheaper than the other one, right? So any kind of reasoning based, then we need to tell the LLM to pause, think and then respond, right? So chain of thought meaning you are telling the LLM that you do not directly respond back. Instead, you pause, Step by step you think and then only you respond. So this way the user will have more trust, right, on the results that are predicted by LLM. And the user thinks that the LLM is not hallucinating any results and it is predicting the accurate results, right? So when there are a lot of reasoning based tasks involved, then you can go for chain of thought prompt engineering technique, right? Now let's go to our code editor VS Code and see how we can implement this chain of thought, right? So far we have seen basic prompt, role task context prompt, few shot. Now let me go to this folder and create a new Python file and let's name it chain of thought demo. Okay. So let me copy the same code. I'm just creating separate files, but you can implement everything in one file also. Just for your understanding, I'm just creating each prompt in its own file, right? So what we understood with chain of thought, when we have a lot of reasoning based tasks, then we can use chain of thought, right? Now let's try to define chain of thought prompt template, right? So this is how chain of thought prompt template looks, right? So what we are telling here, this is the role. You are a highly professional customer support specialist at a premium tech company, and your goal is to address the customer's concerns while maintaining a calm and helpful demeanor, right? And we are providing the context here. Let's approach this step by step, and then we are telling the LLM to do this way with 4 steps. First, analyze the customer's sentiment and identify the core issues in their message. And then number 2, formulate an empathetic acknowledgement of their feelings. Next, address each identified issue with specific solutions, and finally end with a positive and forward-looking statement. And then we are providing with few examples. For example, let's say if the angry customer says this, your product is terrible, I have been trying to make it work for hours and nothing helps. Then we are telling the LLM to respond this way. Thought process. First one is sentiment. Customer is frustrated due to wasted time and product difficulties. Core issues. What are the issues? Product not working, time wasted, lack of proper guidance. And required. What is required? Immediate assistance, clear steps, acknowledgement of time value. And we want the LLM to respond this way. I sincerely apologize for the frustration you are experiencing. I understand how valuable your time is, and it's unacceptable that you have spent hours trying to resolve this. Let's work together to fix this immediately. Could you please tell me what specific issues you are encountering? I will guide you through the solution step by step. Right? Now, please analyze and respond to this customer message, right? So if this is the customer message, you respond this way by sentiment, core issue and required, this format, right? Please show your thought process before providing the response, right? So this is how we defined our chain of thought template. So we assigned the role, task and with some context by providing the examples, right? So we are guiding the LLM to think and then respond step by step. So why is this chain of thought is important? Because sometimes during building reasoning based applications, you may not trust the LLM response if it responds instantly, right? Whereas if the LLM thinks and responds, then the user may be more satisfied with the LLM response, right? For example, let's say if you want LLM to give you the cheapest flight price from point A to point B, right? And if the LLM response involves, I compare different flights and this is the price difference for this particular day or time. And then if it provides you the final answer, then as a user, you think that the LLM has done some reasoning before it actually gave the output, right? Instead of giving the response directly, right? So with this chain of thought, we want the LLM to process and then provide the response step by step, right? So once we define the template, the next step is use this prompt template and then define the prompt, right? So we are using the prompt template and we are assigning this customer message to input variables and the template that we define to template variable, right? And now this chain of thought prompt will be chained with this LLM by using LLM chain. which we have already seen, right? So once you have the chain of thought, let me get the same customer message from the previous example. So once you have the chain and the customer message, the next thing is we can call the run method which is inside LLM chain and see the LLM response, right? So chain of thought, chain dot run, and we are passing the customer message and save it. Now let's run the code. So now if you see the LLM response, this is how it is responding. So the LLM understood that it needs to respond in this format. Sentiment. Customer is angry because what we provided as a customer message, this is the angry customer message, right? Then it understood customer is angry and frustrated due to delayed delivery despite paying for express service, right? And then what is the core issue? Late delivery, unmet expectations, request for refund. And what is required? Acknowledgement of frustration, explanation or resolution for the delay refund process. How did the LLM responded? I completely understand your frustration and I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused by the delayed delivery. I will look into this matter immediately and provide you with an update on the status of your delivery. As you have paid for express delivery, this delay is unacceptable and I will ensure that your money is refunded promptly. Thank you for bringing this to our attention and we will do everything we can to make this right for you, right? So we provided this example and we asked LLM to respond this way. So now when we gave this customer message, LLM understood that it needs to think through step by step and respond accordingly, right? So every time you run a chain of thought prompt, then you will see the output of LLM as a thought process, right? So first the LLM understood the sentiment, core issues and what is required, and then only LLM is trying to provide the response, right? So this is a step-by-step process, right? So what we did here, we installed the required packages and we imported the modules, we loaded the environment variables and we read the key, that is OpenAI key, and we stored inside this, and then we initialized the LLM and then we defined the chain of thought template by providing the role, goal is nothing but task, and then an example, sentiment, core issue required, and we want the LLM to respond this way, right? And then we define the prompt template and we chain that with the LLM by using LLM chain, and this is what the customer message, and then once we have the chain we call the run method by passing the customer message and we saw the LLM response, right? So this is nothing but chain of thought, right? In case if you don't know how to write these prompts, right? So you don't have to write these prompts from scratch, right? We can use any of the AI tools to write the prompt for us. Because if you go to Hugging Face, there are already a ton of prompts that are written by others, right? Those are already available. So you can just go there and download those prompts and use them too, right? So prompts are readily available from Prompt Hub, or you can ask ChatGPT or any other tool to generate a prompt for you, right? So for example, if you go to Prompt Hub, right? So you can go here and you can try to explore and try to download. So this is one place. So similar to Prompt Hub, there are other prompts available on the internet, right? So you can explore more, but at least now you get the idea, right? So you can just go to ChatGPT and you can just ask the prompt. So you provide your context and it will try to provide the prompt for you, right? So this is nothing but chain of thought. All right. Thank you. So we have seen basic prompt, role task context prompt, few shot, chain of thought prompt, and now let's see constrained output prompting, right? So let's go to our VS Code. This is our code editor, right? So far we have seen all these 4 prompts, and now let me create a new Python file and let's save this as constrained output prompting demo inside our prompt engineering demo folder, right? So let me copy the same code again. Like I said, you don't have to write in a separate file. Just to give the demo, I am writing in a separate file for each prompt engineering technique, right? So what we did here, we installed the required packages. You don't have to install every time. Once you install, you can make use of them. And then we loaded our required modules. Here we loaded our environment variables and then we read the key, which is nothing but OpenAI API key. And here we initialized our LLM. And now the next step is defining our template. So this is how you can define a constraint template, right? What we are telling here, you are a customer support specialist. Generate a response to the customer's message following these strict constraints, right? So we are guiding the LLM to follow these constraints, right? So what we are telling here, response must be exactly 3 paragraphs long. First approach must be exactly 2 sentences showing empathy. Second paragraph must provide exactly 2 concrete solutions. Third paragraph must end with a question to engage the customer. Total response must maintain a professional tone, must not use any exclamation marks, must include exactly one apology, must use the phrase I understand exactly once, right? And then you provide a new customer message and see how the LLM responds, right? So here we are trying to guide the LLM to follow these strict constraints, right? So this is how we can define a constrained output template, right? And as you know, the next step is prompt will be written within this prompt template, right? So by using this prompt template, here for input variables we are passing the customer message, and for the template parameter we are passing the constraint template which we defined before, right? And once we have this constraint prompt, this will be chained with the LLM by using this LLM chain, right? And now once you have the LLM chain, let me get the same customer message and see how the LLM is going to respond, right? So we are telling the LLM to follow these constraints for this customer message and then respond accordingly, right? Now let's run and print the LLM response, right? So once we have the chain, so inside our LLM chain we have the run method and we are passing this customer message. So we can see the LLM response by using this print method, right? So now let me run the code. So this is how the LLM responded, right? And the response must be exactly only 3 paragraphs, right? So this is the first one, second one and third one. And first paragraph must be exactly 2 sentences showing empathy, right? So this is first sentence and this is second sentence. Second paragraph must provide exactly 2 concrete solutions. So you can see this is one solution and the other solution. And third paragraph must end with a question to engage the customer. Please let us know if there is anything else we can assist you with during this time, right? And the total response must maintain a professional tone and must not use any exclamation marks, must include exactly one apology, right? So if you notice the response, we only have once, and must use the phrase I understand exactly once, right? So it only used once. So this is how the LLM responded by following these strict constraints, right? So this is nothing but constrained output prompting technique, right? So what we did here, we installed the packages, imported the modules, we loaded the environment file and we read the key and we stored the key inside OpenAI key. Here we initialize the LLM and then this is how we define the template. Once we have the template, then we created the prompt by using prompt template and then we chained that prompt template with LLM by using LLM chain. Once we have the chain ready, we call the run method by passing customer message and then we are trying to print the LLM response, right? So this is nothing but constrained output prompting technique. So with this, I hope you understood the different prompt engineering techniques and what are the different ways of writing prompts and for each prompt how the LLM responds, right? Now let me quickly show some of the best practices that you can use. This is from OpenAI, right? Rules of thumb and examples. So what we are supposed to do and what you are not supposed to do, right? Use the latest model. Always try to use only the latest model that is available, which is recommended, right? Put instructions at the beginning of the prompt and use this or this, right? So we have used this to separate the instruction and context, right? So that is how we provide it, right? So instead of writing all together, just try to do in this format. And then be specific, descriptive and as detailed as possible about the desired context, outcome, length, format, style, etc. Right? We have seen this with example. Articulate the desired output format through examples, right? So we have seen with examples already. And then start with zero shot then few shot. If neither of them worked, then fine tune, right? And the next one is reduce fluffy and imprecise descriptions, right? Try to be more descriptive. And instead of just saying what not to do, say what to do instead, right? So you are trying to guide the LLM so the LLM can understand and provide us the results, right? And the next one is code generation specific. Use leading words to nudge the model toward a particular pattern. So here they gave the examples, and use the generate anything feature that is available, right? So you can deep dive this article. So these are some of the best practices that they have documented here. So this is from OpenAI, right? So now you get the idea, right? How to write a basic prompt template and then role task context prompt or few shot or chain of thought or constrained output prompting, right? So these are some of the prompt engineering techniques that we understood. So now you can try to explore more if you are interested in learning any other prompt engineering techniques, and you can try to create your templates, prompt, chain, message, and then try to run it and see how the LLM responds, right? So that's all about prompt engineering techniques. All right. Thank you.